So good morning from Paris. I'm very happy to be here today for the executive breakfast with Morin. I met Morin, I think, 2 years ago at a beautiful lunch we had together.
Yes, indeed.
And I'm very thankful that you have me join you today. So tell us about you.
I spent 20 years almost in the digital world. So first at Meta, I was there for almost 17 years. I led most recently the global luxury division, and I created now my own brand advisory called Le Vitruve. So based in Dubai, but Europe and Africa focused as well. It's really about how can you bring to life brand stories? How can you create business outcomes that's all powered by emotion and also by digital.
And why are we here today? Why did you bring us here today?
Well, I brought you all here. When you meet and you work with so many great people over 2 decades, I wanted to make sure that there was a space where people could come and learn about topics that are of the moment, of impacting their business, impacting the way that they work, and bring together great speakers like you, of course. And today, we're talking about the business of influence. Influence being such a big part of how brands communicate, how they connect with consumers. And so we have intimate circle, 25, 30 executives across industries that are here to learn and also here to exchange with each other in a way that they're not able to do really anywhere else.
Alex, I'll start with you, if you don't mind, ladies first.
Yes.
I'd love to hear from you. What to you, what does influence mean today, especially influence that goes beyond visibility? How would you define that?
I would make a big differentiation between what is visibility and influence, because visibility is a short-term strategy. It's buying reach, buying attention, but actually influence is a longer-term concept where you're able to shape people's perception, people's trust, and even their way of behaving in the long run.
Okay. How do you first build and then maintain credibility and reliability over time? Because the thing about influence is a relatively new, quote-unquote, form of media, form of communication. And what does that look like, especially as you're building relationships with brands, and especially as you're working with both creators and with brands to engage in a meaningful way with their audiences? So maybe I'll start with you, Alex.
So I think in order to build credibility and after that building trust, it's really important that everything you say, you show, and then you do is coherent. And building and being coherent and being consistent is what will give you credibility.
Okay.
Of course, staying true to yourself and having very strong values around it.
You said a word that's really relevant, trust.
Yes.
In a space where there's been this perception, I'm just going to say it very openly, but it's pay for play. You send content or you pay someone to talk about your brand, so of course they're going to say great things about your brand. The consumer is getting more and more refined in her approach and his approach. How can you build trust in an environment that's saturated with information, and where people are starting to feel like, okay, this may not be a genuine relationship that this creator has with the brand? From your perspective, how are you able to create this notion of natural authenticity? And what does that mean? Because you also have a business to run. So at the same time, you're looking at opportunities, but then you also, I imagine, you want to consider how real and authentic they feel to who you are and the person that you show to your audience. So what is your position and what is your approach on that?
I think one of the most important things is the alignment you have between the fashion label and the talent. The collaboration shouldn't feel that they need to be explained, they're automatically understood because their worlds collide or belong in the same language. The moment where you force two things where their identities are too different, it's not believable anymore, all right? So for me, that's a key way of thinking of how I want to do business and in a longer term relationship.
Okay. And that's an important point because we talk about how you want to do business. So you have your public profile, you have Alex Rivière, the person, and then you have your two brands, your two companies that you've created. And so I imagine that it's a delicate task to be able to manage those because at the same time you want to be able to speak the language of the brands, but then you also have your brand language that you've created. So how do you balance both?
I think the way we've managed to build a business around it, we both feed each other, is that we managed to create a universe around the Alex Rivière person, which is funny because when I speak with my co-founders, like, okay, we're speaking about the person now. It's one line of the business. So there's this aesthetic, this way I have of seeing the world and understanding like an aesthetic from the lifestyle, from travel, fashion, art, music. And I think the clients to come to us and ask for advisory roles or for campaign creation or design advice, they're looking for a specific kind of language. So in that way, everything feeds each other and there's the same language for everything.
Okay, so the what's important for you is the same language. Same language personally and same language when you communicate with and about the brand.
Yes.
So that consistency. What do you think that, how do you believe that technology and artificials influences the evolution of influence and this notion of trust? What does that mean for you? How does that impact the way that you've developed your brand and also your personal brand?
I think social media is a great tool if you use it right. I see it a bit of a knife with a double blade, meaning that it can open you a lot of doors. It gives you access to an audience which is generally already like really specified. You can, nowadays with the tools you have, territory, gender, taste, preference, so it's a great opportunity, but at the same time you need to have some barriers with it. I think in this instance the power of association with the brands or the talent you work with, really you need to stop and like ask yourself, is this association gonna add value to the world I'm building, or is it not?
Okay. And from a content creation point of view, because there are these notions of generative AI, is this real content or is this something that you plug into, different tools, some of which are really quite useful to create? How do you approach content creation, or how do you integrate to make better or stronger or to live in a more relevant way different content creation or generative AI tools? So does it not make sense at this point?
I think it does make sense and it's very helpful because it allows you to produce a lot more qualitative content in a much shorter period of time. But at the same time, it makes audiences trust much less what they're doing. And also, as it enables you to create all this perfect content so quickly, audiences are like, okay, what's the value of this? So they're looking more and more into this emotional connection, authenticity, the imperfect, but still interesting and appeal kind of content. So I think, again, it's an art with a double blade.
I think what I'm hearing is that it's really important to make sure it stays true to who you are, and that it also adds meaning and adds value to the consumer. Otherwise, there's no point. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. And then I'll get a little bit personal. When you're discussing with brands and you're looking at how they measure the value that you bring to them, and even negotiating, what that package can look like. This is a very real question. You're a businesswoman. So as you're doing that, having those discussions and having those negotiations, how do you position and how do you present the work that you do and what you're able to deliver for brands?
I love the question. So there's two sides of it. On one side, I'm lucky enough that I don't need to put a price myself to that because I would be terrible at it.
Okay.
It's very difficult to price yourself. So my business partner is the expert on that side. But in the end, what we're offering is a whole universe, a coherency, an experience around it, a whole language. And when a brand wants to associate themselves with myself, they kind of understand that because there's a coherency on everything we're doing, from the fashion label, from the brands we work with, they can see that. So we're like, okay, if you want to associate that, understanding there's a vision and she will work with this, but she will bring her own vision. Like if I get a strong script, this needs to be this way because that's how we want it and there's no way around it. If that script doesn't make sense with me, I would rather revisit it another time and maybe we find something that makes sense.
Got it. Okay. So you have a very good business manager, is what I understand.
I do.
And it sounds also, and known you for some time and followed your work for some time. You've also spent time cultivating this visual identity and this perspective that resonates with brands. So I think that's also a value of being able to price yourself, quote unquote, by the work that you do to represent yourself all the time. That's how I would also summarize that. How do you look at the future of content creation of influence, whether it's from your point of view as a creator, and also definitely your point of view also as a business owner as well. What do you think is going to evolve? What may stay the same in both directions, on the creator side or on the brand side, or even on the agency side?
I think consumers more and more are becoming aware of the evolution this is taking, and they're becoming much more strict, and they're being more difficult, to use a term, where they decide what deserves their time, their trust, and ultimately their money. So I think, in a way, even if social media and exposure has been democratized, trust is something much more difficult to obtain. So I think it will require brands and creators to think more out of the box and show more natural and more, in a way, approachable, but finding the balance between the approachable and the mystery, because obviously mystery gives you demand and desire, right? So I don't know, it's going to be a tricky way to navigate it, but at the same time, I think it's also going to bring opportunities, because if you've worked long enough to build that trust, you will have a competitive advantage.
Yeah, and over time, so you already retain that confiance with your clients or with your partner. Hopefully. Let's go anyway. Okay, so as we kind of wrap up and come to the final point here, and then we'll open up for questions. I'm sure the messages that are most relevant and important for you as you're in front of this audience, who needs to hear also from your perspective, because often, maybe the messages might be mixed, but what is the message that you'd like to leave with us today?
I think you were very on point, like but actually, it's true. On the one side, I would say creativity, leave an open mind for creativity, because there's a lot of people very talented out there who have something to say and something to share. And actually, as a buyer or as an audience, you're waiting to be surprised. And you build this emotional connection with the brand, but you build it even more with the person. So what I realized having my own label is that people really want to know who is behind it. They want the story. They want to tap into that whole world. And brands, of course, we have very big names, but the person behind the big name is maybe no longer that anymore, or you have all these changes. So people really want that connection. So opening the door for co-design collaboration, something I've been doing since the early days, and I've been tested that actually works better than we anticipated, is something really, really interesting.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. Thank you. Don't be shy. Okay.
I'm not shy.
Please state your name.
I'm not familiar with his content, but he creates a real visual universe. What are your tips and tricks? I'm going to drop this because I'm going to start writing notes.
For them to previously do a big exercise of thinking, okay, by associating my brand to this person, am I adding any kind of value, or actually I'm doing the opposite? Because if you have the feeling that the feedback was that, and that was the result, is that I think the alignment between the profile and the brand was not maybe the best it could have been. And I think that's the first thing you need to ask yourself. And also what brands are doing a lot now, it's not only influencers per se. I think influencer is a term that, yes, is a person who influences, but an influencer alone doesn't bring personally much more value than visibility and reach. But you need to find people where they actually have a story to tell, some kind of value to add. Maybe it's an artist, maybe it's an architect, maybe it's a designer. So I think if it's opening a store for furniture, maybe it's an interior designer who has a big reach, or is a photographer with a specific eye which does incredible editorial.
I think it's about finding those people who have a specific eye, and it's not just about talking heads.
I think so.
Yeah.
And that have actually something to say.
If you had to launch today a new brand, let's say perfumes, would you bet in influencing? Would you bet for influence to focus more on the founder, or in partnership with influencers?
What's really important is to first establish who the brand is and have a very, very solid foundation. Who is behind it? What does it stand for? What's the aesthetic? And once that is really solid, then be really strategic who you associate with. Like, does this person resonate with what I'm trying to say? Does it make the story richer? Because if it doesn't, again, I think if it's only visibility for visibility, I don't always think it's positive.
We haven't talked at all about affiliation, and there's more and more platforms for affiliation with big influencers going direct with the brand and with this affiliation platform, which we were talking about authenticity. How do we consider this affiliation business with this search for trust and credibility, etc.? It's a bit like opposites, so I wanted to hear from you about that.
To convert and to help businesses grow and influencers prove certain worth, but I think a lot of the future of influence relies on having something to say and some value to add. If there's no substance, if there's no story, I don't think there's a lot of future for that particular game.
But do you think that the content that you can develop, those amazing stories, can actually sell at the same time?
Completely. Because it generates the emotional connection.
This notion of content commerce, right?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Encore une dernière. Excellent.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for sharing your expertise, your brand, and your influence and creative point of view as well. It's really, really great to have you. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.